All right. To the L to the I to the V to the E. How was that? That was all right. Okay, so I got my headphones check. Got my cap turned backwards. Check. Richie Rich is here. Estoy aquí. Sí. Ricardo es in Toronto. Hour. Boom. So yes, Richie Rich is in the house. We are doing another. Yes, we are doing another live video. And honestly, I want to thank everyone who's been watching my previous live reviews from I've done ones from like the 90s, 2000s. The one I'm going to be doing now is from the 2000s era, and yeah, I'm just really enjoying again doing these videos without cutting or editing. It just gives me more. It gives me more like energy is probably not the word, but I feel more comfortable doing this more because especially when you haven't done live, and I'm sure people do live videos, even if they don't do it public, but still just to do it without able to cut it, there is some type of pressure in the beginning. But to be honest, like after this is now possibly my seven, maybe 7 or 6. I have to check on my library. But 6 video I've now done live, so I really am starting to get comfortable and starting to feel at peace. And I'm remembering my catchphrases like "What's up, guys? It's Richie Rich, Rico Wakan, the Rich Meister, Big Daddy Rich, and of course, Pretty Ricky's what they call him." Back at it again for another retrospective review. Oh, that sounded so smooth. I'm telling you. Ooh. All right, so I'm gonna cut straight to the chase as well. This is probably I know I say this a lot of like all the sitcoms and all the series I wanted to review that's come from my nostalgia growing up in the mean streets of London, England. You're right. Um, growing up and like the shows that I was watching whilst I was back in merry old England. The one we're gonna review today. See how I correct myself. What we're gonna look at today is going to be the Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show, which is probably has an even bigger legacy now, especially the way how Chappelle went from just maybe like an okay good comedian to this one who has this legendary status and is in conversations for the GOAT title, greatest of all time, as well. So, yeah, and when I'm saying this, like I've wanted to review this series even more. I wanted to review this series, especially with Chappelle comeback. I'm gonna talk more about this later, but for people who widely know, when this show ended abruptly due to Chappelle's kind of disagreements with Comedy Central at the time. They said they wanted to do sketches this way. He wanted to have more creative control, and he ended up leaving. You could say in the start of the new season, season three, and he packed his bags and went to Africa. Africa. He went there, and season three had 3 episodes, which they called the lost episodes, and that was the last you saw of Chappelle to really until he made his comeback. You could say maybe the last like 5 6 years as well, because Chappelle was here and there, but he wasn't attached to any projects as he was from the 90s, appearing on the Arsenio Hall show. He had many multiple stand-up sets on the David Letterman show, and then when he started to get bigger, having these movie roles like Nutty Professor, Blue Streak, Robin Hood, the Robin Hood, not that Robin Hood film, but another Robin Hood film. I think it was Men in Tights, Con Air, Woo with Jada Pinkett. So he was grinding, then he was able to get his leading movie role, which was Half Baked, which again, there's a big percentage of people who like that. It's more of like a cult film. But Chappelle was grinding, but like everything just became like a super like success. It became extraordinary for him when the Chappelle Show came out in the early 2000s as well. So yeah, we're gonna look at the Chappelle Show today. If you haven't already, definitely like, comment, share, and subscribe. You'll be doing me a very, very big favor. You can do that to me. Tell your friends, tell your aunt. I was gonna say Aunt Jemima, but I shouldn't be saying that. Tell your auntie, tell your nieces, tell your nephews, tell the postman delivers your it delivers the mail every 2 days late. You tell the milkman if they're still delivering milk to the houses. You tell them definitely to like, comment, share, subscribe, and check me out on social media. And as I've said, if you want me to do more of these reviews because I'm really liking getting back to doing it again, definitely you can hit me up in the comment section or just message me on directly social media as well. So let me get some water. All right. So as always, folks, I'm gonna talk about like the origins for the Chappelle show. And but even before that, I'm going to talk about when I was first introduced to Dave Chappelle as well. All right, so uh, Chappelle is funny. He was one of all those comedians, and because as I said, if you've checked my last reviews, I've looked at Jamie Foxx, Wayne Brothers, Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac. So a lot of the ones I reviewed, most of these comedians either appeared in Def Comedy Jam or were stand up or were in that comedy sector. The Wayans brothers were in Living Color and they had the movie roles. Bernie Mac had his show around the same time. Damon Wayans, again, Living Color. So they were all attached to projects before they became a hit. Chappelle was very different, and even into today, you see how he's very unique from the pack of comedians as well. It was very like you could say very unconventional, unorthodox the way how he kind of made his star rise as well. And so going back to that, like the first time I ever saw Chappelle, it has to be honestly it's either two. It's either Blue Street that came out in 1999 or Nutty Professor that came out in 1996. Again, he was just a supporting actor in both of these films. Because I remember back in London, I used to always watch these movies back to back, and they used to show this a lot on Sky Movies at the time. I hadn't seen the Martin series then, so I knew Martin Lawrence from Blue Street and Big Mama's House, but Blue Street used to play all the time, just like Big Mama's House. And of course, Nutty Professor Eddie Murphy has like a big fan base, like in Europe, in United Kingdom. So Nutty Professor used to play all the time. Used to rent it in blockbusters back in the day. So it was always just gonna make some space. Oh my gosh, too much downloading. Who knows? All right, back. Okay, so yeah, as I said, like I saw Chappelle in these movie roles because, as I said before, Half Baked, most of the roles Chappelle had were pretty much short but sweet. We always remembered that tall, skinny, but just like a funny comedian who would appear in these like snippets of these films through the 90s. And what I didn't know that before the Chappelle show actually came out, Chappelle had a very like you could say like off the radar, like not too many people know, rare sitcom which was called Buddies that I believe I'll actually check it. I believe Buddies only lasted for so Buddies that came out in '96 only lasted for just one season, and it was basically Chappelle renting an apartment with his buddy Christopher Garton, who was playing John Bailey, and you had Tanya Wright, beautiful black girl with the Hazel Eyes, and Paula Kale, and you also had Richard Roundtree who was there. I to this day I still haven't seen a full episode of Buddies, but Chappelle had this sitcom, but it didn't take off like the other sitcoms I've reviewed back in the day, back before. So back and forth. The sitcoms that I reviewed and of like Bernie Mac show, Jamie Foxx show, Wayne Brothers, these sitcoms had like past like 3+ seasons as well. So they were really successful on their respective networks. It was on ABC, it was on Fox, UPN. they were pretty much successful. He was one of the ones like his one just did not take off as well. It never got picked up more than one season. So, and it's funny when you see the Chappelle Show because Chappelle Show is a sketch comedy series. A lot of influence can go from in Living Color series that you could say preceded this as well. I'm not gonna mention like SNL and Mad TV because it's just a whole different genre, not genre, a whole different audience for that those two series. But I feel like in Living Color, the progression definitely is the Chappelle Show. And I always felt when I seen Chappelle and just a little bits I saw him in Buddies, Chappelle never felt like he was a sitcom kind of dude. And there's actually interviews where he was on Charlie Rose, he was a guy always interviewing these like actors, musicians. It wasn't in public eye. Chappelle actually broke it down to him, saying that when he was on the come up, Chappelle's originally from Washington D.C. He was on the come up. There was a lot of executives and ones within the entertainment industry that tried to put him in that sitcom format, like a Seinfeld or Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and it just didn't work. And it was only until he was able to get into this position with the Chappelle Show and his good friend Neil Brennan, which I'm going to talk more about later, that he was able to get complete creative control, at least at the beginning, and he was able to do his show and he was able to be funny in his own way because he is not the sitcom guy. Dave Chappelle is not Martin, and I believe honestly when you do look at this, like some people will think Chappelle is more funny than Martin. Martin Lawrence is more funny than Dave Chappelle. It's tomato tomato. Both are black funny comedians, but both different in their own various ways. But I feel that the Chappelle show works best for Dave Chappelle because it is his show. But a sitcom series, and this is even why as well. Even if you go back, Dave Chappelle is probably one of the comedians who was on Def Jam Comedy Jam, who did not really appear too much in those guest star spots. Yeah, I don't. Besides the Buddy series, which was his own series, I don't remember Dave Chappelle appearing in Jamie Foxx show, Living Single, Martin, Fresh Prince of Bel Air, the Jamie Foxx show, even Belle Bellamy appeared in Jamie Foxx show. All those comedians that were on the Def Comedy Show, more or less, you saw them appear in these pretty much like them top class black sitcom in the night. So he wasn't one of us. So as a really to I hence then put the importance on the fact that Chappelle was never a sitcom guy ever, and you can see it as well. So that's I even sorry to go on that tirade, but I had to definitely mention that. Yeah, so that's where I first saw Chappelle there. When the Chappelle Show series came out, this was showed late because Comedy Central, I believe it still is, was on UK. It was Chappelle Show was on at South Park. These were like the real two main top series on Comedy Central. So I remember they used to show this around 10, sometimes 11. It was late night, and that was the first time I really got to see what Chappelle is and how he is very different from the other comedians as well. And the first thing you got to see, the first thing that comes to mind, honestly, with the Chappelle Show, it's like his humor it's like a comedian, as he even said, it's like a comedian's joke book being put on the screen. No matter how outlandish it is and how freaky the show can get, it stands out so much because a lot of the stuff you see in Chappelle show are like, man, I would have never thought about this for a joke or an idea. And people even still use some of these jokes today, like I'm rich, bitch, or I'm Wayne Brady, bitch, or what was it? Cocaine's a hell of a drug, which I use from the Rick James sketch. It's just crazy the impact of this series has even 20 years ago. So it's a show that I can always watch. But let's go on to before because I'm really excited reviewing this series. So yeah, let's go on to the main of course like the production development. So Chappelle Show. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna read what. Yeah, let's even to cut out like reading the what the synopsis says. I want to read the format. So the format says the show opened. So how the format of Chappelle's show was: the show opened with Chappelle being introduced over the instrumental from the song Hip Hop as well. So if you remember that, it's bigger than hip hop, hip hop. That was like Chappelle's like main theme from the song, and it actually suits him well. And even before that, if you remember, and this was again very different from other sketch comedy series. The star of Chappelle show, the intro, just shows like this white plain background, and it just puts Chappelle. And then you see these like senior citizens playing. One playing on a harmonica, I think the other one's playing on I believe it's the drums, or he's playing on another musical instrument. And Chappelle just walks over and he's like, woo woo, woo woo. When Chappelle leaves stage exit right, they go, start the show. But boom, boom, like that, just that 15 or 20 seconds for an intro, it leaves such a lasting impression in your mind. Again, because again, comparing it to sketch comedy series like In Living Color had this whole New Jack Swing, hip hop, rap. Heavy D was doing the music for the intro. So it was so different to see this of like it wasn't as flashy with the intro. It was just straight to the point. Let's start the show. So that was one thing I definitely wanted to mention about the format. So then after that, Chappelle would perform a short stand up in front of the live audience. Again, just like in Living Color, they had a live audience, and when it would be time to show the sketches, Chappelle had like you could say a Titantron, similar to what they used in like WWF, Raw and SmackDown, and WCW Nitro back in the day. He had a big like screen which had the C on, so where they would show the sketches for that live audience. And I always felt that was an important part that Disney and Living Color did because it's all good putting sketches for just for like people to see on network television, but just to have the live audience, it just makes it more genuine. Like when these are laughing, it's not like a laugh track. It's not like or this something that you see in maybe Seinfeld or oh god. But the reactions from the live crowd really help make this show. So then, like it would say, like the focus would then shift to a pre-recorded sketch. The show was notorious for its handling of the topic of sexuality and Chappelle's casual usage of racial epithets. Chappelle performed sketches that prepared in intricate cultural topics such as prostitution, the entertainment industry, gun violence, numerous drug references, particularly marijuana, alcohol, PCP, crystal meth, and crack cocaine and music. Show often closed with a musical performance by hip hop or soul artists as well. So if I go back to the racial epithets, and this is possibly one of the reasons we never really got a season three. I wonder if I should talk more about this even later, but even just to talk about this is the racial epithets that Chappelle uses. As mentioned before, the way Chappelle tackled race and politics at this time, it was something that wasn't done before. Chappelle's maybe closest competition at this time probably was Chris Rock, who was really like blinding, not just even America, but just audiences all over the world with his like electrifying stand-ups, and he was having his movie roles at this time. But as much as I love Chris Rock, and especially after what Will did to you, sorry, my man. Chappelle had just this ingenious way of tackling race and politics, making you laugh about the subject matter and also making you think like that's actually pretty brilliant. Like again, why didn't I think of that? Just the way to see how clever Chappelle, how witty he is in this series. So, and again, what was again because again, what I always will say with Chappelle show, especially being such a big fan of his Living Color, is I love that they brought those formats of having the live audience and then having the musical performance at the end. But the difference was how they did the musical performance in the Chappelle show is sometimes they were pre-recorded and sometimes they were on locations. So you had musical performance from you had Erica Badu here, you had a Tribe Called Quest, you had I believe John Mayer, great sketch that he was on as well. Of course, Kanye West, Yeezy, Yay, did I say Yeezy? Yay. Before Ye, before the Kardashians, he was on here, which I believe was his first ever music performance. He was with Common performing food on this series, and I always felt the performance on this almost rivaled the series in the Living Color as well. Like as much as I love, like I go back and I check some of the music performance because that's why I always used to love to. As much as I love the sketch comedy of the series in the Color. It was so amazing seeing the music performances from Chris Cross, from like Naughty by Nature, from Rakim, from like Heavy D and the Boys, Rex and Effect, and then it shifted to 2000s where you're getting more of the 2000 generation of like rappers, soul, and R&B music within this series. So I always say, Living Color, it always felt like Chappelle Show was a spiritual successor to In Living Color. The big difference is Chappelle had more control on this series. Let me get some water again. So yes, yes. Of course, as I even mentioned, definitely if you haven't like comment, share, and subscribe, I can't keep saying that even more, man. I'm here who is out there is giving you reviews like this. Yeah, no, I mean there's a lot more. I mean, who are kidding? Definitely, and definitely subscribe to them. But for sure, as I said, if you want to see more reviews like this, for sure, definitely hit me up on the social media. And as I said, this is summer now. I really want to do more of these now because possibly we'll see. We'll see towards the end of the year. I may maybe not change the format, but I may maybe go on to doing something else different. But for now, the time being, I want to get much as I can of these reviews out. So you do me a big favor if you can definitely support the channel and share these videos away as well. All right. So that's pretty much the format as well. So if we go on to, of course, the cast as well. So if I would say, it's very funny. The three, if we're talking specifically in the series, the three primary cast would be Dave Chappelle, who I messaged on. I talked about before. Like at this time, Chappelle was he was a comedian who was known, but he wasn't that superstar. He didn't have that superstar status. There was a lot of comedians that actually beat him to the dance before. Bernie Mac was getting movie roles at this time, Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey, D.L. Hewley, Chris Rock, of course, and Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence were again like there was so much competition at this time as well, and that's what some people uh, seem to forget. Whereas like even just on a side note, when people talk about like oh Kevin Hart's the best comedian, he does not have that crazy competition that these lot had in the 90s and early 2000s. So sometimes it's unfair to compare. But hence the point, Chappelle at this time was a star, but just showed elevated to a superstar. So he's, of course, is his show. He's the main protagonist. He pretty much appears in every single sketch from the season one all the way to even with season three when he's not there. And then you have, I was even going to call him actually Larry. You have Donnell Rollins, and you have Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother as well. When you talk about picking the right actors for the right roles, I believe Charlie Murphy and Donnell Rollins were the perfect actors, were perfect comedians to work alongside Chappelle because they got the humor. They got it. Like in each sketch, you could feel like there was a big commodity, let's say, like say, between the three actors as well, and it worked so well. And what I loved as well is the sketches, because like there's so many great sketches in this as well. You can go from the Clay and Bixby one, from when the Wayne Brady sketch, which is often praised much so. Turn my headphones off. When Little John's like, yeah, yeah, what? Oh my gosh, when Chappelle, they say Chappelle one is going to be getting $50 million, which plays a big part in the role. So there's so many great sketches, but I love how when they put them in the roles, they're playing the right characters as well. Because again, even talking about, as I spoke in past years about guest stars, the way the guest stars work in this is they will appear in the sketches as well. This is something in Living Color didn't do as much as Chappelle's Show, and I believe in Living Color again because they had a bigger ensemble cast Indian Living Color series, where Chappelle Show pretty much is just a free between Chappelle, Charlie Murphy, and Donald Rollins. So it was really cool when you did see guest stars. Like there was a little bit when Arsenio Hall appeared, or Big Boy from Outcast was in this, or you had a Wu Tang Clan game, nothing to fuck with Wu Tang Clan when they were in this. So the guest stars who appeared in this pair, they appeared in the right type of sketches, and it really kind of accentuated their personality as well. So those are the main three. So we do have regulars as well. Of course, Neil Brennan, who I didn't really talk too much before. He was a guy who met Chappelle when he was really young. So 10 years before Chappelle's Show even made, Chappelle and Neil were friends from the comedy clubs. When he used to do like open nights and stand-ups, Chappelle was there, Jay Moore was there. I believe even God rest his soul, Bob Saget was there. Those comedians in the early, let's say in the late 80s, early 90s, they were going there. Chappelle was there. Even I believe Chris Rock maybe there. But Chappelle and Neil, they made a friendship and they really understood each other about like the way comedy is and what they can present and would go to present how like they see like the world in comedy. So their first attempt pretty much was half baked, where they were I believe only 23, 24 at the time. And if you read interviews about it or even watch them talking about half baked, they're not so happy or satisfied about the way that movie eventually turned out as well. So really, when them, especially the failure of half baked for them, they really went into Chappelle's Show knowing like we have to make this good. Like it was this extra motivation for the Chappelle Show to be a success as it did turn out to be. And so Neil Brennan appears in a few sketches that you won't even sometimes see him. It's very quick. There's the one when Chappelle does that slow motion sketch when he enters the club and how everything's better in slow motion. And Neil's like dancing on the side and he moves out of the way. Or in the Clayton Bixby sketch, he's like, "Yeah, take off, you hoo, take off, you hoo." His head explodes. So he's there in a few sketches. You'll see him there as well. Then the other main actors, I'll even some of the names I got. So you got Rick Crom, who is I know nah, not Rick Crom. Bill Burr. How could I forget? Bill Burr. All right. So Bill Burr, who you know now, like people know him now from he was in Breaking Bad, and he has a lot of like a big like stand-ups. Again, someone who really got to his prime at a later age than the other comedians. Yeah, Bill Burr. This was like maybe not his first, but one of his early appearances in like television or movies. So Bill Burr, he does great. Again, he's not in every episode, but most of the no episodes. Even one that comes to mind, the racial draft. He was he was here as well. He was excellent. You also got Sophina Brown. If you remember, Sophina Brown was the fair skinned, very beautiful. She was the one when Chappelle was they did a parody of the real sex where she's going about like all the she was telling the interviewer like yeah what I used to how I used to get down when I was at university when I was at college, and she felt like the biggest most craziest thing I did sexually was having sex with a gangbanger here. Well, fucking done like so that was her. That was her, and I believe she's pretty much moved into like TV series and kind of like network television as well. So she started here, and also there's another one I want to Guillermo Diaz. Yeah. So Guillermo Diaz, he's the dude that appears in I think their first sketch ever, which is the pop copy episode. So if you remember the episode where there are pop copy Michael Rappaport He appears in this episode. He appears in this sketch, and where they're just giving like the most worst customer service like ever in any like department store. Guillermo, he appears there. He appears in multiple series. I would say after the main three, Chappelle, Donnell Rollins, and Charlie Murphy, I believe Guillermo's like plays the most notable roles. He plays more. He appears in more scenes than the other recurring actors as well. You also got the Mr. Robot guy, which I honestly can't find his name. What I heard is he was actually one of the ones who actually helped the production of the show. Like when it came to setting up lights, when it came to like the music and just the layout of the show, he was one of them. So I would say those four are the main ones. He was and Sabrina Brown. She appears a lot in the episodes where maybe Chappelle's partner, Chappelle's wife. There is another black woman who I will see if I can get her name. Say Amanda. I wonder if it's her. Amanda. It's not Amanda Rowan. It is. Maybe it's her. No, it's not her. Drinking. So honestly, I can't find her name now. If I can, I'll definitely put that later. But like, yeah, that was this the black girl who was in the what was it? It was a sketch where it was the Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. The one that didn't show Chappelle, the one that was after, and she also she also appeared when she's giving birth, and she felt comes with a big equipment as well. So you have those who are pretty much like the regular recurring, you could say, characters in this series. So yeah, let me get some more on that. All right. Okay. So again, all right. So if we go on like the themes, okay. So I'll talk more about notable episodes about like the themes. So where Chappelle's show was very different from like because I believe Mad TV was around this time. Mad TV, and I've seen a lot of the shows. Harry Spears talks about like Mad TV all the time when you see his interviews. Biggest difference from like Chappelle's show is the racial humor in this was always like you could feel it. You could feel it. Like the way he was genius. For example, the first one. This was like one of the I said the pop culture stuff, but this was in the first episode. They're playing a Big Speed sketch. I don't know who the heck in all the universe could afford about that sketch. Here you got like a black guy who is blind and he believes he's white. And he goes all the way to the episode and he dresses up as a Ku Klux Klan member. And again, this is something that at this time you weren't really seeing too much imagery or even in movies, not to that extent of showing this as well. Because when you're showing stuff like that, that's super edgy. Honestly, that's really, and it's like you got, and then you're playing it as a joke honestly. And Chappelle, when he would do his stand-up routines before like some of these sketches, he would say, "I can't believe we haven't been cancelled." He would say it like on episodes after, and even Neil would have to tell Chappelle like, "Yo, you can't keep on saying that because maybe we are gonna get cancelled as well." So a lot of the racial humor in this is very edgy, and I always talk about videos of that happened 20 or 30 or even 40 years ago within entertainment that could not fly today, man, maybe like 80% of the series could not fly today, honestly, as well. Like the way they try to hide like racism doesn't exist or like slavery wasn't as bad as we think it is. This show really takes it to the extreme as well. So the theme of racism is there. When they actually tackle like sex in this as well, it's funny because I don't Chappelle deals with like sex, but it's again it's super different. Like it's never it's the show's never really too graphic with like full on sex as well. Like it does talk about like pornography. For example, the episode when he believes, which I thought was genius one when the internet's the real place. And he goes into watch the Paris Hilton movie. He goes into watch the Paris Hilton movie and Ron Jeremy he appears in this episode, and that's something that happens on the internet. People go and they watch stuff online. And people like download like pictures that even went into one port and it's like you said you could get naked pictures of Halle Berry. This is stuff that really happens and he was addressing this. Okay, this happens with like 99% of people today. Was create this kind of concept that the internet is a real place. So he was taking like I said, big topics again said Paris Hilton, who was again at that time very famous for her green screen for like having sex with her boyfriend at the time with the uh, what was it having sex with having sex with so like she was very noble for having sex with her boyfriend at that time with that night vision on which Chappelle parodied here and he also parodied in that same sketch. Oh, you hmm, okay and yeah. So it was really nice wearing these sketches that Chappelle parodied like public figures like Paris Hilton, like Halle Berry, Jennifer Lopez at this time, and Janet Jackson. For example, the Paris Hilton one, there was the episode of the the Real World, which was again a popular sitcom at that time, popular TV series of like the early version of reality television, and you had them making fun of the Paris Hilton sex tape as well. So when it involved it like sex, it really tackled again like those real kind of like sex symbols or moments of like moments of sex, like within that time era in this show as well. And that goes on to my next topic, as I said, was parody. Chappelle, and this is very a hard one. I'm trying to think like who did the parody better, in Living Color or Chappelle Show. Both, in my opinion, both of the series that tackled the parody so hilarious and it was so entertaining. But in my opinion, I think when Chappelle did it, it was always like uh it was always distinct because the funny thing is if you for example when Chappelle does the making the band and he imitates like Diddy, in some ways he doesn't really remind me of Diddy or he doesn't sound exactly like Diddy, just like congratulations, it's official, you're not a bad boy, baby. He does it, but he doesn't. He's impersonating P Diddy, but it's still Chappelle and he does it in a way that is Chappelle, and he still has a certain gravitas to it. Whereas in Living Color, when you saw like Tommy Davidson imitate like MC Hammer, or Tommy Davidson imitate like impersonate Spike Lee in the Living Color series, he really went out to make sure like that was Spike Lee in that. Chappelle didn't need to. Chappelle was Chappelle, and he was like, okay, I'm playing P Diddy. I don't have to really go into P Diddy. I'm gonna try to do it. Mhm. Back. Yeah. So it was really good the way the parodies were. All right. So if I go on to like let's say novel sketches as well. So like the series as I said had like a lot of novel guest stars as well. So again, Guillermo Diaz who appeared in Half Baked with Neil, and you also had there was also another Jim Brewer, who's a good friend of Dave Chappelle. He appeared in this series. You have a lot of guest stars from Snoop Dogg, from GZA, from Method Man, Wu Tang Clan, Damon Jess, Redman, Ice T, The Play Haters. Hey. Arsenio Hall, and of course Wayne Brady. All right. So the Wayne Brady sketch. I honestly I could not do a Chappelle show review without talking about the Wayne Brady sketch. Okay. The funny thing about this sketch is it was something that wasn't supposed to happen. I actually have a video which I believe has been taken off the internet, which is not even mine, but there's some like YouTuber who I forgot his name. and maybe not even on YouTube, but just a content creator. He actually did a whole documentary of the Chappelle, $50 million, like why he ultimately left the show and went to Africa. He rejected the $50 million. He talks about it specifically why the Wayne Brady sketch happened, and what happened was it's actually Paul Mooney who he wasn't a regular on this show, but he would appear in a lot of like episodes like Ask a Black Dude what they think about him, which I thought was hilarious. So like when they have this sketch which is called Negro Dames, where these white people the audience actually ask Negro Dames like just questions like burning questions that we need answers to. So when they ask Negro Dames, like his answer is that black people like he said something similar like he said to the point that Wayne Brady makes Malcolm X look like Brian Gumbel as well. Basically insinuating just from that response that Pomoni did, saying that when Brady is black, but he's a light type of cushy black. When Brady is the Alfonso Ribeiro Karn from Fresh Prince. When Brady is Christopher B. Duncan Braxton in the Jamie Foxx show. He's not that brother guy as well. He makes white people love it as well. What happened was when Chappelle, because at these times, especially after because this happened, I believe it was the first season, um, the reaction of this, a lot of people watching the show, because again, Chappelle at this time, he had done projects, but no one actually got to really see what he was capable of. So Wayne Brady was actually watching that show live when that happened, and I believe they got in contact like Wayne Brady and Chappelle, and Wayne Brady didn't like that. No, actually, it was Wayne Brady and Chappelle were actually, I believe they were out, they were having fun, they were just drinking, and Wayne Brady actually told him like he didn't really appreciate that sketch, honestly, and something that he has even heard before, like Wayne Brady is he's too nice to be like a brother like that, brother. So it turns out that because of that, Chappelle was really like, he felt so bad because Wayne Brady is such a super dude. So he felt like, okay, in order to kind of mend this, let's bring him on to the Chappelle show and let's convert this, like what this happened, which is a real event, into a sketch. And to be honest, I think because there's so much novel sketches and it'll probably take me long. It's probably take me so much time to go through all these sketches, but I would definitely say if it's not the best, it's definitely one of the best of the Wayne Brady sketch where it changes from the Chappelle show to the Wayne Brady show. Because what I love is there were some episodes in the Chappelle show where they actually used like a whole format. So the 20 minutes of the series, they didn't show any of the sketches. They just had this as the pretty much primary sketch for the show, as well, which was very different from like when you saw in Living Color, even like SNL and Mad TV. They would always have like maybe 4 or 5, sometimes like 7 sketches just ran back to back. You could have a whole sketch that would be like a complete episode for it, and it was great because it was a way that they had to tell the story that could not just be shown in just like a maybe like 3 minutes or 4 minute sketch. There was sketches Chappelle had that were worked for that, like to turn my headphones up or when Little John came on, like it worked for that. But the true Hollywood stories Charlie Murphy did, it needed to be a full episode to really get that story done and then get the payoff as well. Like what did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap. He needed that. Or the Prince beating them in basketball with this with the clothing at some party as well. So in that way, I felt it was always. I think it was excellent writing with those long form sketches, like Wayne Brady and like the two Charlie Murphy True Hollywood Stories. Ooh, I was looking at okay, yeah. So when my voice gets like that, you know it's that time. Definitely putting social media handles. Definitely check me out on my social media. As I said, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Definitely follow me there. And of course, as I said, as in the beginning, if you're just joining us now, hi, I'm Richard, doing this review on Chappelle Show. You can definitely support more reviews that I've done in the past and will be doing in the future by like, comment, share, and subscribe. Really will appreciate your feedback as well. Honestly, I really enjoy doing this, and we'd love to hear your comments on that as well. So, all right. So as I said, like to go on all the notable episodes, it would take forever because I honestly, it's really hard to say that there's a bad sketch. And what was really funny is this series, this sketch comedy show, Chappelle Show, was very self-aware. Like it actually did an episode where they talked about like the sketches that didn't work. The sketches that they had one where Chappelle dressed like as Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela boot camp. There was one where he did like a gay Ku Klux Klan member. So it was very self-aware. Even the player haters, they went back in time and they shot like a slave master. So they were very they knew kind of like what worked and what didn't, but they were able to make fun of themselves. Whereas like other sketch comedies, they only just put the best work. They'll show bloopers here and there, but they really had like a pulse on what people wanted to see at this time as well. And I keep saying that if you want to see these sketches, Comedy Central has a channel on YouTube. I thankfully have the Chappelle Show because I've been watching it since it first came out. I've always had it and I've always loved it. So I pretty much know most of the episodes just like the back of my hand. What the heck is that? No, just wait. But yeah. So okay, so yeah, talked about the themes, talked about the characters, talked about the music performance. All right, okay, so of course, definitely have to talk about like the you could say the abrupt ending this show had. So season one comes out Chappelle Show and it breaks like all these records. Like again, it was something that really kind of blew up overnight. People had known of Chappelle, but they really knew him, and he became just like he's just a superstar overnight. Like he's even the stress sense. Like I remember being at the States at this time, a lot of people had that Chappelle hat that he had this he would be wearing on his stand up. People were saying that quote, "I'm Rick James." Some people were saying they're in casinos at this time as well. So his catchphrases, just even the attire, the presentation, that was really crossing over to pop culture. So season one happens and it goes well. Season two happens, everything's going well. What happens is because Chappelle, when he left the show, he had like a big sit down with Oprah. This is like when he went to Africa and he came back, and he told, which the story has become like legendary, was that when they were filming season three, the Pixie sketch, that Chappelle was getting laughs from the crew who were there whilst on the set, and there was one white crew member who was laughing, but he didn't laugh in a way that was like with him. It was more laughing at him, like ha ha ha. We're seeing that dark skinned black guy with big lips and wide nose. And it's like in Chappelle's mind, he thought he was saying like his people, black people, more backwards than forwards. That's why ultimately, and there's been rumors that even these high-powered black people like Oprah, like Bill Cosby, within the entertainment industry, who really didn't like what Chappelle was doing, how he was like kind of representing black people. For example, Chappelle, he had one of the sketches, which again never had been done before, which was a game show. He was a game show host, and he was saying, "I know black people," and he used all the stereotypes that he talked about. Black people like chicken, black people like thick girls, black people like come late, black people shouldn't vote. So it was all these like stereotypes that was happening that was putting us more backwards, and I think there was a big pressure of like he didn't want to make black people feel ashamed of him as well. Yeah, yeah, if you haven't already, definitely watch that Oprah sit down interview when Chappelle goes on. It basically explains pretty much from the top to bottom like why he ultimately had to leave the show. Excuse me, I gotta go. And it is really even looking back now, 20 years from because it finished in it was started in 2003 and it finished in 2006, so just 3 seasons. This show finished way too abruptly. Honestly, like how the hell does SNL have SNL's been from seven, I think maybe even 60 to now, and you got like just multiple unfunny sketches. Mad TV went on for 9 seasons, and this only had 3 seasons. Yeah, it was really crazy, and even for the crew members, they even felt like it was just very um it's a very kind of you could say in a selfish way a move because like there's a lot of people really depending on this series to be a success, and it became a success as well. So for Chappelle to just like leave when they already had like these episodes already planned for season three. It was a move that he's talked about that was necessary to do, but man, I sometimes can only imagine like what this series if we had gone like five, uh, even five, just like even if we're gonna have 5 seasons, if we had got 5 seasons of Chappelle Show, I mean this. It's still regarded as one of the best sketch comedies of all time, but it would have possibly cemented because as much as I love In Living Color, and it's definitely the Godfather, and Chappelle Show just did some stuff that again no one would have thought about. That unique way and just the way Chappelle and Neil Brennan plan sketches, that genius quality was something you would not see, you never saw before, and you will not even see after as well. The perfect people to make this series as well. So yeah, so that's really the fallout from Chappelle's show. As much as we because even when I was looking like I can't really name any bad episode or any bad like a bad sketch as well. Sure, there were some sketches that weren't as good, and some sketches again that was across the line. But Chappelle Show was very like honest the way presented the series. They said like, yeah, you gotta be at this age to watch this, and will contain graphics, some racism, some sexual innuendo. It was very honest as well, so they weren't really fooling the viewers as well. So again, so what happened once Chappelle had left, which was again just when season three started, when they were filming and he left. The last like 3 episodes, it was pretty much like Darnell Runs and Charlie Murphy basically presenting and talking to the live crowd, and they were only able to get 3 episodes out, and a lot of it again was ones that were filmed before. I believe there was the monster sketch. There was the one I really love where there was one I really love when Chappelle they said like $50 million, which again that was again blending reality into real situations. Comedy Central actually negotiated to pay him $50 million to do more seasons as well. And yeah, she denied it, and they actually put this within the sketch of him like, how does your life change if people know that you're getting $50 million as well? So yeah, it's a shame that it only was 3 episodes. And yeah, honestly, it's changed. And then like, yeah, okay, so now if we go on to like after the Chappelle show, right? So as I said, when Chappelle left Chappelle show, he did like a block party in 2005. I don't remember him appearing in any major movies. It could have been an independent situation as well. I just know he was doing rigorous stand up. It was around sometime after the 2010s that he started getting these comedy shows. Like I got signed on to Netflix, and then he started having these like big like stand-ups where through these crazy stand-ups that he was having there because Chappelle's body shape changed. Like if you saw Chappelle's show, he was very extremely thin. Hence, extremely thin. When you see him like later in the 2010s, he put on a lot of size. There was a lot of curiosity, like what is Chappelle like now? Is he still as funny as he was before? Then from some point from doing these crazy comedy shows, I remember he appeared on SNL for the first time ever as one. As I talk about all those other comedians appeared before, Bernie Mac, Chris Rock, I believe Damon Wayans, all those ones who had those sitcoms, or all those ones who had those sitcoms at the time, they again beat Chappelle. Chappelle was like really the last one to really get this like worldwide like appreciation. So I remember when you appeared on SNL and he was able to bring the characters back from Chappelle's show. onto the sketches within the SNL format. And that SNL episode, if I'm wrong, that was the one when Donald Trump was elected president. I believe it broke so much records, like the most viewership, big ratings from just from Chappelle's appearance on there. So Chappelle, if you really look at it, he turned down 50 million 20 years ago, but in some shape, in the best way, he actually benefited so much that he was able to make even more, like signing 60 million deals or 70 million deals for Netflix. So it was a major. I don't know if it was planned as well. Honestly, I don't know if it was, who will ever know? Because it's Chappelle, one thing you will know from this series is that Chappelle is a pretty intelligent guy. So I don't know if this was all by design for his career to be like that, but he probably has like the best comeback story in all of entertainment as well. And I believe, and if we talk about Donnell Runnels again didn't see him too much movie roles or in TV series after. Just like Chappelle, he does a lot of stand up around, and there's been many times you'll see Chappelle and Donnell Runnels on podcast, and Donnell Runnels actually appeared in the Chappelle sketches on SNL, so he's still doing great as well. Unfortunately, we lost Charlie Murphy. I believe it was Charlie Murphy would have gone in. So 6 years ago, 6 years ago, we lost Charlie Murphy. I think I can say this for everyone that if there was no Chappelle show and Charlie Murphy, God rest his soul, he says this, they would still refer to him as Eddie Murphy's older brother. As a man, yes. This show gave Charlie Murphy a huge exposure that if he wasn't on this, it never would have happened as well. Those two episodes where he talked about real experiences dealing with Prince and Rick James is marked in the comedy museum like forever. The legacy of that is so insane because Ronnie Murphy is such a great storyteller as well. And honestly, that is probably the if there is a best way to sum up the Chappelle Show, it's probably like the way they blended reality and added the comedic value to it as well. So it wasn't just like some comedian just like making up some total fiction and saying like, yeah, we're gonna make this a sketch. Honestly, just like one that's not, and like SNL. Honestly, let's just say that. Chappelle was able to bring reality of like the failed movie roles as well, or like not getting the series picked up, like not really getting the girl he wanted, or all of this combined, and then Charlie Murphy bringing out his real story, so we're dealing with his kind of like being Eddie Murphy's brother. They put all that in this series, which is spectacular as well. So it's really hard to when it comes to reading Chappelle Show. It's really difficult to give this. I even just for those 2 3 seasons, I have to give this a perfect score, honestly. And maybe for some people, they're gonna look at this like, yeah, maybe that's a bit, that's too much. It wasn't that great. You have to understand that Chappelle's shows of this, because I keep remembering when I first saw this at this time, it transcended the normal realms of entertainment where it crossed so much into pop culture at that time. And because of that impact he had with this show, he was able to leave for almost a decade and then come back even stronger. But if it wasn't the mark of this show, that never would have happened. So yeah, I mean, this is probably the first time I've ever maybe given a perfect score, but I have to give it 5 out of 5. I see no errors with this series. I think maybe if it had gone to a fifth season, maybe it would have been, because it happens sometimes where some series should have ended earlier and they continue way on past their time and it starts to decline, especially in sketch comedy. You're always thinking of a new idea and just trying to stay relevant with what's going on in pop culture at that time. But it ending so abruptly probably actually helped it of like you when you're watching these episodes, like every episode means something more. It's not like any episode was made without any thought. Every every episode, every character, every like location, it always meant something. That's great. So yeah, Richie Rich from the Chappelle Show that came out 2003, lasted for just 3 seasons. I can't believe it. To 2006, I give that I give 5 stars out of 5 without a doubt. I would love to hear what you lot think about this. Even before that, I would definitely say for anyone who can I recommend this for anyone who's a fan of sketch comedy, who's a fan of In Living Color, if you have unfortunately watched SNL, they have some good episodes depending on the guest stars on there. But if you have watched the Chappelle Show and you want something more edgy, more urban, more, in my opinion, cool, this show will be right down your alley. It's laugh out loud funny. And as I said, there is always a social message with it. Before this whole woke bullshit we were in now, this was having like these social messages before, and it meant something. That's why I love. Nothing feels wasted in these the 26 episodes or something like this. Just nice free season, so everything needs something as well. And what I'll say is, I don't know how I can link it, but definitely if you haven't, check out. There is a full like documentary on like the whole Chappelle on the rise coming up in the DC ranks to get in the show and why he ultimately left. They really go in detail. So that's something. I mean, since anyone who's a fan of this or just a fan of Chappelle Show, definitely watch that because it gives a detailed analysis and a real insight onto like what was happening with Chappelle, his mental health, what was happening with Chappelle, his mental health, and why it was like super necessary for him to say, I need to leave this golden show and go to Africa to save my sanity. And the other one is definitely, which is on YouTube, definitely check out him on the Inside the Actor Studio as well. That's when I believe that's again when he came back. Is again, it was the same time as the Oprah interview. Check that one out as well. But again, he gives a deep insight on how Hollywood is, the gatekeepers, and the way how he wanted just to live a normal life and he didn't want this kind of fame and publicity to kind of make him go crazy as it has done to our Hollywood elites as well. So definitely check that out. So yeah, folks. So yeah, folks. That's my review on Chappelle Show. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. As I said, I recommend it for people who love types of sketch comedies. I think people who are a big fan of that 2000s era because again, this was running at the same time as the Bernie Mac show, My Wife and Kids, One on One, and the Hewleys as well. But where the difference is, those sitcoms were that family entertainment format. This was something that was super, super edgy and super relevant at that time with some of all the crazy stuff in the early 2000s, especially like the what happened in September 11, some of like just the radicalization that was going on in some communities then. So it's definitely a perfect show of its time and it has a great legacy as well. So guys, I would like to hear what you love think about the Chappelle show. Were you hurt like me when it ended so abruptly? What do you think of Dave Chappelle, like him currently now being considered as like one of the goats of comedy? And then yeah, let me know like if you would like to see another, maybe if it's not more seasons of the Chappelle Show or like another sketch comedy, sketch comedy successor. Like in Living Color, you can say Chappelle Show was that successor, spiritual successor to In Living Color. But since then, we haven't seen that. Like Chappelle's made digs at Key and Peele and about that sketch comedy. But would you like to see another sketch comedy that could have that same impact of the Chappelle Show, but made for this era now? So put all your comments and thoughts in the comment section. And yes, stay tuned for more upcoming reviews, which trust me, which will be coming very, very soon. And if you haven't already, folks, we're almost in August in a couple of weeks. Get your paper right and update your wallet. Richie Rich is